Hitler was wildly popular until he invaded Poland. Right, the invasion of Poland was not popular with Germans, but up until that point, he had been a wildly successful politician from the perspective of the overwhelming majority of the German people. From the perspective of Jews, he was terrible. From the perspective of German non-Jews, he was overwhelmingly popular. Was the German officer class a superior class of military officers? Yes, it was. Right. Germany had a decentralized military command that enabled its officers to exercise larger amounts of discretion than most military officers of their rank. And because they were so smart and accomplished that they had an outsized impact, pretty much every time that equal numbers of Germans and the enemy met on the battlefield in both World War I and World War II, the Germans won. The Germans were, soldier for soldier, the superior fighting force in both World War I and World War II. One can recognize that the enemy has amazing traits. You don't have to just think that all goodness and excellence resides on your team. Now, CBS News led last night with this thinly sourced Atlantic piece by its editor, Jeffrey Goldberg, that Donald Trump had said that Hitler had done some good things. And this is a seeming advantage that the Democrats have, and that they can push stories into the news that just rely on one anonymous source. Right? If Republicans wanted to push similar story into the news, they would have to come up with several sources, including sources on the record. So when it comes to publishing damaging stories about politicians, right, the news media in particular is willing to go with a much lower bar with regard to Donald Trump than any other politician in recent memory. And this is seemingly a big Democratic advantage, except the enemy always gets a say in war. If you look at politics as an example of war, all right, the ease with which the mainstream media publishes thinly sourced attacks on Donald Trump tends to discredit the mainstream media with those who aren't rabidly anti-Trump. And so you'd think this would just be a big advantage to the Democrats, but it ends up being a significant hit to media credibility. And when scientists politicize themselves by becoming more overtly pro-Democratic Party, pro-left-wing partisans, then that discredits science in the eyes of people who aren't rabid lefties. And so scientists and the media think that they're discrediting Donald Trump. But what's happening is that they are largely discrediting themselves in the eyes of those who aren't left-wing partisans.